6 p.m. in Bilonge, right here in the economic capital city of Douala. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. Within the third week of back to school, classes are yet to be effective as teachers' nationwide strike action (OTES) is still ongoing. The teachers are revendicating better working conditions. They are equally urging the government to respect all the promises they made to them a few months back. This is regards to the betterment of their working condition. That is our lone major story tonight. Stay with us for details and more. We begin today's edition of the News with Religion as Christians of the Evangelical Church in Cameroon were locked up during a church service in Koutaba, that is the Nous division of the West region, by the divisional officer of Koutaba, Bertrand Ita. This is after they were asked to evacuate the building with the excuse that they constructed their church on a land that does not belong to the church. We have details with our reporter, Mala Glory.
You don't lock me for sit and God. I want that so praise more God, I don't get me problem.
This old woman has become a prisoner in the house of God. Her and other Christians of EEC Kunja, Église Évangélique du Cameroon, were locked up in the house of God during worship in the town of Koutaba, West region. According to the divisional officer, they were locked up after they refused to evacuate the building.
Organize this trouble for ya. We did so far so when I eat.
We are accused of building on the land, which according to the divisional officer is a private land. Christians of the said church present land titles to prove they have all rights on the land. The divisional officer did not take time to look at the land documents. Now this is where the problem comes from. These are the land documents, so we don't know why they leave their lands to send the Christians out of their own land. Natives of Koutaba on their part says the land they are claiming is a church property is a family land, and the EEC was given a different land to construct the church. This is a family land which at first rituals were practiced here, and when the church came to this village, they were given a land in order for them to construct a church on it. Now they have decided to rather construct on this family land, which is a private property. The divisional officer Bertrand Tar, through a phone call, told Equinoxe television that the Christians have no rights over the land and no proof to show that it is a church property.
And over to our major lead story. Teachers of government colleges within Douala continue with a sit-down strike action, which is aimed at pressurizing the government to keep to the promises they made to them. 3 weeks into school new year, the teachers say until the government fulfill their promises, no lectures will be given in classrooms. Smart Jikan Gabriel visited some colleges within Douala, and he now reports on how effective the OTS movement is.
Crying the fact that she is in her 13th year of service but no advancement in service. This teacher was with other colleagues who began the Operation Dead Chop this Monday to decry the unfulfilled promises made by Cameroon's government. As a result of the Operation Onatro Supporte that started this Monday, classes were grounded at Government Bilingual High School Mabanda, with students loitering within the campus even though teachers were present. It was the same scenario we met at Government Bilingual High School in Bepanda, Douala 5 subdivision, with teachers taking a break of their chalk.
We are just saying that enough is enough. As far as OTS is concerned, we have started with the strike and we are going to continue with it. All the teachers of our school are mobilizing to go on to continue.
The teachers say they don't want to die recklessly like their colleague who died even before getting his payment.
We don't want to have another Eleme or another Amidu because the condition in which Eleme died was very afraid. We don't want to have another Eleme. Before the death, he did not receive his duty. His duty is supposed to be paid on May 2024.
In Sangmelima, South region of Cameroon, teachers were present on campus but said no to teaching. Third week inside the new school year, which began on September 4th, 2023, many are calling on government to act fast to save the students, particularly those sitting in for public exams.
For me, Armstrong, that was Magic Khan Gabriel reporting there. And the teachers' nationwide strike action, OTES, is now posing a veritable threat to the 2023-2024 academic year. While pressure and intimidation mounts on, some teachers in some regions say their determination to push the right to continue to gain grounds. Historically, the attitude of the government and some civil administrators has proven counterproductive to the interests of the government, increasing the growth of the movement. Femi Armstrong Sander has the details.
The teachers' nationwide strike action has grown in size and nomenclature over time, no doubt, but everything didn't start with a civil disobedience. Before the adoption of the Enough is Enough, the OTS and OTA slogans to push for improved working conditions, teachers in Cameroon began from the presidency. In March 2022, the teachers addressed a 31-point letter to the presidency of the republic demanding reforms in the educational system which they believed would make the management of their career less stressful. Few days later, the government announced that it had found solutions to 95% of teachers' demands, an announcement which was going to be short-lived. On August 16, 2022, the teachers, already in a strike action, petitioned the Prime Ministry insisting on reforms and improved working conditions. This time around, the teachers tabled 28 points, among which were the automation of the processing of career actions, a massive recruitment of teachers of technical education, the elimination of debts of 180 billion francs CFA, and the elimination of salary splitting, among others. Now, at daggers drawn, the government of Cameroon settled for a strong voice, threats, and intimidations from some civil administrators in some cases. Faced with multiple pressure, the teachers adopted and reinforced the slogans Enough is Enough, On a trop attendu, OTA, and On a trop supporté, OTS, boycotting classes and classrooms throughout the 2022-2023 academic year in Cameroon. Relaunched on the 4th of September 2023, the teachers' nationwide strike action is already threatening to paralyze the 2023-2024 academic year, according to reports from the West, the Center, the Littoral, and the Far North regions of the country.
And over here in the economic capital city of Douala, goods worth billions of francs CFA have been burnt to ashes at the Douche municipal neighborhood in Douala. The fire that broke out yesterday evening engulfed several warehouses. Victims of the fire incident expressed indignation over the enormous material losses incurred as a result of that fire incident. Cedric Chakultio with the details.
Burnt electric poles, shoes, and other goods reduced to ashes. These are the remains of the fire incident that caused material damages estimated at millions of francs CFA at the commercial hub of the economic capital of Cameroon, Douche municipal in Douala, Sunday.
Il s'est marché à 8 h, j'ai installé jusqu'à 14 h, je suis rentré. J'avais la réunion à recevoir à la maison. Je suis resté jusqu'à 18 h, on m'appelle, on dit le couloir à Wangzhou c'est boule à quoi. Et je suis responsable d'un magasin avec la machinerie de plus de 6 millions.
Est-ce qu'on peut évaluer, mon frère? C'est pas facile d'évaluer ça comme ça, à main levée. C'est pas facile d'évaluer.
It took several hours for the rescue soldiers from Godi, Bonaberi, and the Douala International Airport to stop the flames from spreading further.
J'ai des difficultés au niveau du déblai parce que à l'intérieur des boutiques, ils ont mis des mezzanines. Et c'est ces mezzanines qui nous empêchent d'aller au niveau supérieur pour abattre les flammes. Nous avons travaillé sur EARI depuis ce matin. J'ai engagé plusieurs binômes pour aller faire les reconnaissances et refroidir des flammes chaudes qui se trouvent au niveau des plafonds.
For now, neither the inhabitants nor the firefighters could give a response to what really happened.
And now we talk culture. Some sons and daughters of Baba One have paid an allegiance visit to their new fawn, Fue Kangape, in Yaoundé. The young fawn was enthroned on the 8th of May after his father died. Our reporter, Aisha Luciliengu, was there and compiled the following report.
Notables, elites, sons and daughters of Baba One paying an allegiance visit to their new fawn, 9-year-old Fue Kangape. Enthroned on the 8th of May 2023, His Royal Highness Fue Kangape is the new fawn of Baba One in the Ngoken Tunja division of the Northwest region.
A village cannot be strong without pillars. Mo Sylvester is a pillar. A pillar for Papia Kum, for Baba, a pillar for the country. You need to know him. This is a gift to the country. We need to celebrate him.
He succeeds his father, Fon Kim Shi II, who died on the 2nd of May 2023. During the visit, the young fawn received the symbol of authority from the notables.
And let them know that we are by them at all times. If you saw, we gave a symbol of authority to the fawn to let him know he's an institution and we are his subject forever.
Despite his age, the people of Baba One are glad to have him as their fawn. 9-year-old Fue Kangape is a class 6 pupil schooling in Yaoundé, and he will sit in for the 2023-2024 First School Living Certificate examinations.
And in our foreign news roundup, Babila Jonathan brings to us current happenings in South Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Brazzaville, and the United States of America.
At least 20 people have died in South Africa after a major road accident in the northern province of Limpopo. They were in a bus which got into a head-on collision with a truck. The miners were being transported to one of the biggest diamond mines in the country near the borders with Botswana and Zimbabwe. 17 people have perished in a landslide in the Democratic Republic of Congo following days of torrential rain. The disaster occurred overnight Sunday near the banks of the Congo River in the northern city of Lisala, the capital of Mongala province. The government of Congo-Brazzaville has denied reports of an attempted coup d'etat against President Denis Sassou Nguesso, who has been in power for 39 years. It follows rumors on social media that the military had been trying to oust the 79-year-old leader, who is currently in the United States attending a United Nations summit with other world leaders. Information Minister Thierry Mungala took to X, formerly Twitter, to reassure Congolese that they could go about their activities calmly. The two-day 2023 United Nations High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development is holding in New York. The summit marks the midpoint of the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and provides a crucial opportunity to accelerate efforts. The summit is envisaged to be forward-looking and action-oriented with the aim of accelerating international actions to improve people's lives and reinvigorate the sense of hope, optimism, and enthusiasm that characterize the option of the Sustainable Development Goals and the 2030 Agenda. It is expected to adopt a concise, action-oriented political declaration as its outcome document.
On that international page ends this first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Another African leader got toppled by the army 2 weeks ago in Gabon. Gabon follows a string of successful coup d'etats in countries like Niger, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Sudan, and Mali. Congo-Brazzaville's government on Sunday debunked claims that the military sacked the current civilian government led by President Denis Sassou Nguesso. This is coming after several unconfirmed reports claimed that the military was trying to oust the government and seize power. The African continent has been described as an epicenter of coups lately. My guest tonight is Dimancho Michael, a political analyst, and we'll be talking about these different coups that have been happening in the African continent. And Congo-Brazzaville dismisses allegations of any failed coup attempt. However, since 2020, we have witnessed several military coups in Africa. Africa has been described as a global epicenter of coups. What accounts for this?
The reasons for these coups are simple. You could get them culturally and you could get them institutionally. First, culturally, we are thinking about the ethnic antagonism that we have. So you say, okay, a leader has come from this section, from this cultural grouping. The next time, a leader should come from this. So you find that there is this established terrorism that goes in between the government, where one clan is fighting to be that calls the shot. One clan is fighting to rule. And that is how it goes. Now you talk about the institutional factors that are causing these coups d'etats. You see that people have come to discover that the election, what we call elections, that we thought was supposed to be a panacea for all of these, the election is not giving the desired solution to people's problem, because in Africa, you get onto power and you want to live on and on and on. You change the constitution as you want, the framework called the constitution, which is supposed to be respected and which is supposed to be the highest organ or highest institution that we have, has been mashed upon. And now we have what we call strong men in Africa. And because there are strong men in Africa, other strong men want to spring up to fight those strong men. And that is why we are having all of these coups d'etats happening in Africa.
Dimancho Michael, in the wake of the coups spreading across the African continent, we have seen some presidents like that of Cameroon and Rwanda making some changes at the helm of the country's Ministry of Defense. Do you think their actions are directly linked to what's happening in countries like Gabon, Niger and others?
Yeah, of course, it should have a link, even though a lot of people have argued, and it's so, like for the case of Cameroon, you know, in the months of August, September, there is usually always this military shake-up. But this one was very, very monumental, and it was eye-opening for the world, because a lot of media organs have quoted this, and they have never done that in the past. They have quoted this to mean that it was a response to what has happened to Niger and to Gabon. And it is true, too, because when you look at when that came, you are actually tempted to believe that this has happened to preempt what happened in these other countries to happen in this country, in Rwanda and in Cameroon. And it's true. But then there is some short-sightedness I want to say some myopia in all of this, because you realize that in most of these coups are orchestrated by people who are close to the heart of the presidents of these nations. And therefore, no amount or no degree of military changes would preempt if a military coup has to take place in any country. So I think sometimes, despotic leaders, sometimes autocratic leaders are so short-sighted, is that they don't read from signs of the time. And, well, they can only do what is within their reach. And I think that they are only trying to make moves that will further protect their individual interest, even though this can never ever be a guarantee that a coup will not take place.
Now, in countries where coups were witnessed, we noticed that the military received praises from the population over their actions. As a political analyst, what message is it sending across?
It is a strong message. This is to say that what? People were suppressed in their emotion. People's emotions were suppressed. And at one moment where there is this savior that has come to salvage them from that suppressed emotions, of course, they have to express it. Let me tell you, Immaculate, there is no amount of good leader that will stay on for years that the people would support forever and ever. Because change, to me, is constant. Change is constant, and these leaders, sit-tight leaders, make believe that they do not have successors. It translates to the fact that they themselves are not successful, because for every successful leader, there is a successor. So therefore, if you think there is no other person to take over you, means that you have not been a successful leader. And that is why these people come up to jubilate, to rejoice, because Presidentship in Africa, you know, today we call it monarchy in most African countries. And people are not happy that the whole presidency, the post of the president that is supposed to govern, or supposed to be a post that oversees the whole country, it is now being handed by the president's wives, the president's family, cousins and aunts and all of those. And therefore, that is why you find that at one moment when this happened, everybody rises up in joy. For them, it is like coming out from that darkness where they are living to light. And everybody who sees light rejoices. This is to say that what? People were living in darkness and that they have seen a new light. Who will not rejoice when you see a new light? And it is a strong message too. Analytically, it's a strong message to other sit-tight president that even though during elections, when you come and you blindfold people and you corrupt people and you bribe people, and with bags of rice, with few coins to vote for you, and they clap for you, you will stage media outings. And of course, I blame two TV stations that are just out to take their own personal gains, and they actually broadcast all of this and see people rejoicing because a dictator is out for campaigns. This is to let these dictators know that all of those things, those outings of the masses, clappings and all of this, is because they have no other choice. And when they do find a choice, a desired choice, they come out to rejoice that a tyrant has fallen.
What's your opinion about coup d'etats? Is it an alternative that can be considered?
The present period in Africa, we need enlightened despots. This is what I will say categorically. That in Africa, for Africa to grow, for Africa to emerge, for Africa to actually, grow economically, we need enlightened despot. Because when you look at it all, you see that from the coup that are orchestrated from the whole of Africa, if we are thinking about that of Sylvanus Olympio in 1963, we are thinking of that on Kwame Nkrumah in 1972, we are talking of that on Murtala Mohammed in 1966, we are talking of that Bedel Bokassa and David Dako in CRA in 19. So you realize that all of these things are because people are fed up and there is this idea of economic depression. And people think that the civilian rule has not brought them any joy. The expected goal that we had as far as that thing called democracy is concerned. You know, we were ready for independence, but we were not ready for democracy. Let me say this very straightforwardly. I know many people will ask me, what do I mean by this? We were ready to be free, but we were not ready for the European type democracy that we have in Africa. We needed those strong, because strong men built Europe. Benito Mussolini built Europe. Stalin built Europe. Even Hitler built Europe. So we should be able to face facts and get these facts on the face and say that we are not ready for civilian rule because the civilians seem to be too weak. You realize the issue of Al-Qaeda, the issue of Islamic groups, the issue of Boko Haram, and all of this. We think that we need, a military, the military rule to tackle all of these things. Civilians still seem to romance some of these things. They seem to come in for their own personal gains. And given to the outcry of the fact that we are not purely independent, like somebody say, as I said earlier on, are we really independent? Because when we talk about neo-colonialism, it is even much more harder than the colonialism that we had. So we have seen that we have only come out, run from frost land to discover ourselves in cool land. That is why the civilian rule has continued to bow down to Europe, to colonialism, to neo-colonialism. And when you look at what is happening in Niger has proven very clearly that we are out for the interest, the junta is out for the interest of the people. Burkina Faso have said the same. Mali has said the same. And therefore, we think that if we look at all of this analytically, you realize that we were wrong to adopt the civilian rule, because civilians have proven that they are rather more strong men than even the military, and therefore we need enlightened despot in Africa. Those who, I want to give an example of enlightened despot. When you look at a country like Libya, Libya was ruled by a colonel, and I'm telling you, everybody who has studied Libya and knows about Libya understand what I mean. That this is a country ruled by a military, and they had free education, they had free healthcare, they had free housing, and a lot of amenities, free electricity, free water. This was ruled by an enlightened despot, and this is what we are clamoring for, that we need enlightened despot to rule Africa. We do not want people who will come in the name of democracy, but do so only to put us in very, very difficult conditions.
Regional and sub-regional organizations like the AU, ECOWAS, ECAS have been struggling so hard to intervene and bring it back civilian rule. Why do they appear to be unable to stop the military takeovers?
Well, they cannot succeed. Let me ask a question. Which country in all of these ECAS, ECOWAS, and all, CEMAC and all of this, which one has not mounted a coup d'etat? Is there any country that you say there is no coup d'etat in these countries immaculate? I mean, I want even the audience, the viewers, to tell me if in any of these countries there has not been any coup d'etat. Because the coup d'etat, the most dangerous coup d'etat we even have is institutional coup d'etat. And we have been having this in all of these places. That is why you find that they are just like ducks that bark, that cannot bite. And like the Frenchman would say, le caravan passe, le chien aboie. This is all what they are. Why can't they get in to be able to actually make the necessary change as they have been given the promises? So you find that it is all about talking and talking and empty talking. It is because they themselves find themselves in this kind of situation. If it is not one kind of coup d'etat, it is another. And therefore, how can you, being guilty, because usually we say that anyone who goes to equity must go with clean hands. But how can you, knowing that you are guilty of the very thing you are going to solve, have that power, that audacity to be able to push forward, to bring peace or to bring change in that very act, in the very evil, in the very sin which you think you have committed? So I think they cannot go anywhere far. And that is why you find that they are blocked. And I'm sure they are blocked and blocked forever.
And have these military leaders been able to respect their promises? It should be recalled that many of them promise a quick return to civilian rule.
There is one thing about battle, fighting a battle. Sometimes you want to ally with your less enemy to fight the bigger enemy. What do I mean here? I mean here that, you know, one of the most fights, especially in West Africa now, has been the fight against France. And therefore, you find these coup plotters, these military rulers who have come up, the first thing that the population is happy about is that they are disintegrating with cooperation with France. This is the first thing that the population wants to see. And let me tell you, I'm not a prophet of doom. We are watching Gabon. And Gabon too has to show proof of it. You see, Mali, Burkina Faso they have signed alliance with Niger to say that one for all for one. If you strike one, the others respond. This is what the people want, because we have, and it's not even an impression, we have been overused for so long a time, like Rosa Parks said in the 1950s in the United States of America. We have borne so much for so long a time, and it is now we have to change. And therefore, the population is aligned with the military juntas first to disalign with France. All the others, they are going to sit down as brothers and sisters, and they are going to negotiate for what they want.
In the face of poor governance, what is qualified as a sit-tight leadership, what other options do the population have to change the situation at the moment?
Well, I think the population, they have a role to change the issue of sit-tight, and apart from even the issue of coup d'etats. I have often said that, do you know that putting a null and void ballot in elections, do you know that's a vote? That is a vote. Because people always think that the vote is for this or for that. No, no, no. Putting a null and void ballot in a ballot box is a vote that we call a vote of no confidence. Let the population come out en masse. If in an election of 6 million citizens, we have 5 million null and void ballot boxes, that election will be annulled. Because actually, even in the face of international community, we are going to consider that leader who claims to have won with 10%. You don't imagine a leader winning with 10%. That doesn't make any sense. And it is constitutional that a leader must win with this or with that percentage. So I think that there is a way out of coup that the citizens can be able to distinguish, can come out from the shackles of this tyranny that this despot, these autocratic leaders are putting them through. And it is normal. It is also worthwhile for citizens not to attend political rallies. When the rallies are organized, let citizens not attend. Let there just be this boycott, total boycott. I mean, this sends a long-sounding message to whoever cares to hear that there is this breakage in marriage between the government and the citizen. It is a firm message. And there are a lot of things that the citizens could do without necessary. You know, there is one thing. Boycott. Boycott is a decision, and no one can stand the message of a boycott. So I think apart from coup d'etats, there is another way in which the citizen can snub or can disown their leaders, and this is just what I've said.
Dimancho Michael, political analyst based right here in the city of Douala. And that's what put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for your keen attention. Stay in the company of Serge Alain Otto with the program Equinoxe. Have a wonderful evening.